Hey, you like this? Yeah. I finally changed something, guys. This is the change, not the edited content you guys wanted. This is the change right here. Just changing from the corner to my bookshelf. Something that I said that I would never do is be like every other like movie reviewer, and just like have my bookshelf to flaunt my intellectual superiority over you guys, because you guys are no. It was way more appealing to look at this than I guess the corner of my room. So this is my, my very quaint bookshelf. So like whatever, if you guys want to look at it, go ahead. Obviously you're gonna have to, sorry. Anyway, we have two movies here. Red Sun, Le Mepris. Very surprised Le Mepris came very early from Studio Canal. Shout out to Orbit DVD for getting that to me very quickly. So basically, like with the Radiance title, so Red Sun would be the first and, well, the only actually title that came out this month, in the month of June. That the reason why is because some guy messed up the subtitles on Cosa Nostra. Life happens, things happen. So that's coming out next month, and I cannot wait to review that. So I was kind of a little bummed out, but you know what? A month delay is okay. So we'll start off the review with Red Sun. Now, this is a 1970 German film, kind of like following in the footsteps of Godard, not really. Send up of the women feminist movement, kind of not really. Very confusing movie. So basically, it's about a guy finds his ex-girlfriend in a bar. Both them go to her little commune where like 3 other girls live, and secretly her the ex-girlfriend and the 3 other women, they have a pact to kill men, pretty much like 5 days after they slept with them. Basically, it's a sort of like a go into a structure and destroy it from within. It's sort of like in the same vein as Rear Window, later on Blue Velvet, even Casino, not Casino, maybe like even Goodfellas, kind of. Just this total outsider that just comes into this situation and doesn't really even know how to get out of it, right? So where from like James Stewart's character, it's almost, or Kyle MacLachlan's character, it's almost like they had like a sort of civil duty to be morally correct, and like, in their method of doing this. This guy, the main character, sort of doesn't really even care. He's sort of a degenerate, doesn't really have any sort of any type of responsibility or anything like that. Just sort of like just goes with the flow, and eventually he gets kind of too close to them, and then it eventually ends in chaos. So, what did I think about this movie? I think that it was a very long watch, and this is barely under an hour and a half, and it was still a very, very long watch. The actors had kind of no personality to them. Even though the narrative, which was the best part of it, kind of like drug along in some sense, it was just not a very pleasant watch for me, and I hate that because like for Radiance itself, I do think that they do at least allow movies, even though that they're not, technically made or very efficient, there's something to sort of appreciate about them. Even to like, A Woman Who Kills, right? Which is like kind of, well, was my least favorite until Red Sun. At least that had something, going for it in terms of like creepiness or like this vibe or whatever. Red Sun doesn't have any of that. Red Sun, I don't think, knew what it wanted to be, and it's just a very kind of trite movie experience. So, and I hate saying that because I hate to be so negative about a film that like, never really saw the light of day, and it gets this very nice packaging from Radiance in terms of like the limited edition, and the limited edition not steelbook, the little booklet here, which details the last scene here. Spoiler alert. This was just a mess of a film, and I'm just like, and the editing was just very bland. Just everything about it I just did not like. So if you're going to like view this movie, I would rent it. I would not buy a limited edition or buy the copy until obviously you saw it first. the first real miss, I think, of Radiance. Like, and I do think that, see, Wim Wenders is a big champion of this film because it's like, oh, it makes its own scenery, it makes its own, sort of, it makes its own sort of statement on stuff. Well, guess what, Wim? The movie was shit. I'm sorry. I did not like this film at all. So, like, go ahead and just view this on, just rent it, pirate it, whatever. And that's my thoughts on Red Sun, basically. I'll try to keep it at that. So we get from Red Sun to Le Mepris, a lot of thoughts on this one. And this is going to be like a longer video. So when I did like that summer preview video back in May, I waited until May 10th because that's when Studio Canal had made the statement, oh, we're going to release Le Mepris in 4K. And that really did not get enough love like I thought it would, because this is Le Mepris. This is like Godard's second most famous film besides his debut Breathless. And just thinking of like what occurred, because it was kind of rushed, really. Like the restoration was done and everything by Heventi, the same people that had done the Three Colors trilogy, which, and I'll just talk about the transfer right now of the 4K, because like with Red, and I'll just mention this about Red Sun's transfer that I didn't mention it. It was just okay. They did the best that they could with it. Obviously it's not going to have the restoration job like Le Mepris because it's a more celebrated film. So, that's why I don't really talk about it that much. So anyway, Le Mepris to me is I watched it originally on the Criterion channel. And when I watched it, I thought it looked drab. I thought it looked, it kind of looked like just shit to look at. And I thought that it was just not a very pleasant, film experience, like watching it. Not to say that like I have to have like pretty colors or anything like that blasting at me, but I think for a film that is like on the ocean and on this, very colorful set and everything, and just, the red Alfa Romeo, it has to have some sort of pop to it, and it never did with the Criterion versions, or I believe the Kino version, if I'm not mistaken. This 4K that was done by Heventi. Now I know that like they kind of get like their crap like from the Three Colors trilogy, which I think that like for two films it worked, and the last film it didn't. It just didn't at all. But for Le Mepris, it knocked it out of the park. This is like a great restoration by the team at Studio Canal and Heventi. They're just absolutely, it's just a wonderful restoration. And I would recommend anyone who loves Le Mepris to get this copy and to enjoy it, because it is absolutely wonderful. Now, people talk about the encoding or anything like that. I thought that it still looked great, and I would still go ahead and get this for sure. So we get from that to the actual film itself. What is it about? Well, I'll give you some history beforehand. So Godard like had made Breathless, had become the darling of like, the sort of underground film scene or whatever like that in France and really all around the world. But by the time he got to Le Mepris, his reputation, sort of like, I wouldn't say like a taskmaster, but his, eccentricities or whatever kind of came forward, because this movie was dead in the water when he tried to mention it to like producers, when he tried to like, try to shop this around to a lot of people. Like no one really wanted anything to do with it. He went to even like art house people like Viti from like from most famous in Michelangelo Antonioni's movies, and she wouldn't do it. A lot of people just pass this up. So eventually Godard finally had to cash his chips in to get this movie made, his own like neurotic sort of film, and he cast Brigitte Bardot, like a very popular actress, like huge, and she gets naked in it, which like a lot of people enjoy, I guess. So like for this movie, I think that was very needed, because not the naked part, but just her star appeal, because like this movie would have died a death. Like no one would have watched this movie, no one would have like really even cared about it. Of course, Jack Palance is in this movie. Jack Palance, like he's French. Jack Palance is in this movie. Did not know that he was the cousin of Chuck Palahniuk, which is not cousin, like a distant nephew or something like that. But that's pretty cool. I didn't know that. But anyway, so basically, like he made the movie and he knew that this was going to be a popular film, but I don't blame like the people at the time for not trying to give him money, you know, besides like giving him money once Bardot came in, because like this movie is so um it's not as naked as like Two or Three Things to Know About Her, because that was just him just like on this total just neurotic trip. This is kind of the same thing, but not really. It's I don't know. I'll talk about it. So basically, this French screenwriter is going to pretty much save this film that is directed by Fritz Lang, which is a great cameo, by the way, by Fritz Lang. Very gracious and very nice man. It seems like on like behind and in front of the camera. But anyway, so it's about like just trying to save this film and trying to also save his marriage, which is crumbling before his eyes, and the screenwriter just trying to juggle these, you know, and Jack Palance, who I think did a great job, is like this very like crazy like American producer that is just like acting on every whim on just this total power trip. It was just I think a pretty good performance by Jack Palance. And now what can we talk about like the ideas of the film and all that, right? Well, Godard gave it like at the beginning of the film, really, that like, you know, this film is like sort of like um, taking out the reality and just putting like of what we see fit or something along those lines. And yeah, and it's definitely true. But I will say that this is Le Mepris is a very painful film. It's a very painful film if you've ever been in relationships. It's a very painful film in terms of like trying to just knowing that it's over. And I do think that it may have had something to do with Godard's relationship with Anna Karina at the time, which was on the rocks. And they had made like just these, you know, just not, I would say like very, yeah, just very influential films together. And, you know, that partnership, you know, just fell apart. And I think that like Godard like kind of took out his frustrations on like, you know, on the movie industry that he was a part of, and also along with just other stuff that he did. So I just think that it was just a pouring out of emotion that he needed. And I think Le Mepris was sort of like, you know, where he was like almost like the movie was like a canvas for him to like, you know, sort of just like air out his frustrations that was going on at the time, which so Le Mepris is sort of like a very sad movie, and I do think it is helped by the absolute magnificent score by Georges Delerue. I believe like that's how you pronounce his name. Oh my God, is this score absolutely monumental, beautiful, soul-crushing. It complements the film in such a grand way that a lot of films can't really claim to do, and I think that that's why I really enjoyed this film a lot more the first time, the second time around the first, because the second time I really absorbed that music and compared it with the images, and it was just a very sombering look into really a disintegrating relationship. And I think Godard had done that so well in this film that it was painful to watch. And I do think that of course there has been like other more painful, you know, I guess movies, but this is just as painful if you've ever been in like relationships like with someone that, you know, you think you love, or like, you know, it just all like kind of crumbles apart really. So it's and when you look in that view, it's like kind of depressing. There's another view where it's sort of like this this critical look at the film industry that he was a part of, but you know, that's more or less like, you know, just like sort of just something thrown on top of what it really is, which is sort of like how adults can behave like children when like their desires are not fulfilled, basically, or like, you know, if basically like maybe the love is gone. So it's a sobering watch. I would recommend Le Mépris, you know, for, you know, just like the if you haven't watched it before, because I think it's like because it kind of like made Godard like, you know, able to like make movies the way he wanted to like later on, like from the success of Contempt. But it's definitely a movie that, you know, I would not watch if you're depressed or sad or anything like that. But again, you know, it's definitely just a sobering view, and I do think it is a must watch. It is a wonderful movie. and by one of the all-time great directors in my opinion, Jean-Luc Godard. So the special features was not a lot. Colin McCabe, I'm sorry if I pronounced his name wrong, did a really good introduction on like the history of the film. So like for sure, like definitely give a view on that. So if you want to wait for September, definitely go ahead. But if you really want to watch it, yeah, go ahead and like get this from Studio Canal, Le Mepris, a wonderful film. I really enjoyed it watching it last night. So thank you guys again for taking the time to watch my videos. And I don't know if I mentioned it or not, but Criterion just announced Trial 4K and Walkabout 4K, and that's coming out in September. I'm going to get those, make those videos, and probably edit them because those are really good films. So I can't wait to do that, to make those videos. Appreciate you guys sticking it out for this long. So thank you again. Like, subscribe, comment. Also, comment about encoding, by the way, because for whatever, that's another thing about Le Mepris, because when I watched it, everyone just like, from what I reviewed, disliked the encoding. And I was just like, I don't see it here. So like maybe unless like I'm not like looking at it at a microscope, because I have a 65-inch Vizio TV, I would be able to see it obviously. So like whatever like they're getting at or anything, like please describe what encoding is to me, because like I don't see it unless like, I really have to train my eye to really view it. Maybe it's the grain, I don't know. But thank you guys so much. Like, subscribe, comment. I appreciate you guys watching my videos. Again, thank you.